15, 33. Compare Job 8. 37-44. And particularly the high priest, who headed the Sanhedrin, was responsible before God for handing over God's son to this Gentile ruler for sentencing to death. Mount 26. 63-66. Pilate's guilt did not equal theirs. Yet his act was extremely reprehensible. Pilate's distaste for the promoters of the crime evidently was reflected in the sign he had placed over the impaled Jesus, identifying him as the King of the Jews, as well as his curt refusal to change it, saying, "What I have written I have written." Job 19. 19-22. When Joseph of Arimathea requested a dead body, Pilate, after first displaying the thoroughness of a Roman official by making sure Jesus was dead, granted the request. Mr. 15. 43-45. The concern of the chief priests and Pharisees over the possibility of theft of the body brought the terse reply, "You have a guard. Go make it as secure as you know how." Mount 27. 62-65. Removal on death. Josephus reports that Pilate's later removal from office resulted from complaints lodged by the Samaritans with Pilate's immediate superior, the governor of Syria, Vitellius. The complaint was about Pilate's slaughter of a number of Samaritans who were deluded by an impostor into assembling at Mount Gerizim in hopes of uncovering sacred treasures supposedly hidden there by Moses. Vitellius ordered Pilate to Rome to appear before Tiberius, and he put Marcellus in his place. Tiberius died in 37 CE, while Pilate was still on his way to Rome. Jewish Antiquities, 18, 85-87 4, 1. 18, 88, 89 4, 2. History gives no reliable data as to the ultimate results of his trial. The historian Eusebius of the late 3rd and early 4th centuries claims that Pilate was obliged to commit suicide during the reign of Tiberius' successor Caligula. The Ecclesiastical History, 2, 7, 1. Pildash. Sixth named of the 8 sons of Abraham's brother Nahor by his wife Milcah. GE 22. 21-23. 11. 29. Thiles. Hemorrhoids. Swellings of veins at the anus, frequently accompanied by bleeding. In this often painful disorder, there are vascular tumors beneath the mucous membrano-textoid acute uretra longo. Pillar 642. Ancient peoples, particularly the Greeks and the Romans, invoked their deities for cures by presenting to them replicas of afflicted body parts, or they presented models thereof in gratitude for supposed cures. Since Gerbo's mouse-like jumping rodents were bringing the land to ruin 1 6. 5. Some scholars believe the Philistines were afflicted with bubonic plague, a highly fatal infectious disease marked by such symptoms as fever, chills, prostration, and painful enlargement of the lymphatic glands, or burbos. This plague is transmitted chiefly through bites by fleas that have bitten infected rats or other rodents that are dying or dead. A death-dealing confusion occurred when the ark was in Ekron, where the men that did not die had been struck with piles. 1 5. 10-12. Both Pile and Jerboa images are mentioned at 1 Samuel 6. 4, where the Philistine priests and diviners are quoted as saying, "Every one of you and your Axis lords have the same scourge." But this may mean only that the entire nation, the Axis lords and people alike, had suffered a common calamity, the same scourge, not necessarily that the rodents and the piles were associated in one epidemic disease or plague. The Bible seems to indicate only that the Jerboas destroyed vegetation throughout Philistia, thus ruining the land, and does not specifically state that they were carriers of infection to the Philistines stricken by Jehovah. Pilha millstone. A family head of Israel or a representative of a family of that name attesting the post-exilic trustworthy arrangement. NE 9. 38. 10. 1, 14, 24. Pillar. An upright structural support or column, or something resembling or comparable to such a supporting column. Some ancient peoples of the Middle East set up sacred pillars in connection with their false religion. Quite likely these involved phallic symbolism. The Israelites, upon entering the Promised Land, were to destroy such sacred pillars, and they were forbidden to set up pillars of that sort. De 7. 5. 16. 22. However, at times they took up heathen religion and used sacred pillars. 1 Kai 14. 23. 2 Chi 3. 2. See Sacred Pillar. Quite apart from the improper use of pillars hated by God, the Hebrew scriptures mention the setting up of pillars or stones of a commemorative nature. Such pillars were neither objects of idolatrous worship nor symbolic of sex organs. They served to recall historic acts or events. On 2 occasions Jacob set up stone pillars at Bethel. Both instances involved taking note of Jehovah's dealing with Jacob in a special way at that place. GE 28. 18, 19, 22, 31, 13, 35, 14, 15. The pillar Jacob stationed over Rachel's grave was no doubt stone and still existed in Moses' day. GE 35. 19, 20. When the Israelites accepted the laws Moses had received from God, Moses built an altar and 12 pillars corresponding with the 12 tribes of Israel. X 24. 4. Joshua gave similar instruction involving stones to represent the tribes, though the account does not